Hi everyone, it's Robyn. I have a video to share with you of a project that I created for the Wild Bunch, which is the Wild Orchid Crafts YouTube design team. Okay, so I started off with the Birdhouse from Joann's and then some different acrylic paints and some crackle medium, and those can all be picked up at Joann's. I started off with this large brush too, and I noticed it was losing some of the hair, so after a few tries I thought forget it and just switched to a good brush. And I'm just adding a coat of the Martha Stewart acrylic paint to the entire base of the bird cage. I think it's like pine or something. It just came from the dollar bin at Joann Fabrics a while back, so I'm not sure if they still have them, but I've been wanting to alter this for quite a while. And so I'm just finishing up with the first coat of acrylic paint, and now after that dried I added the crackle medium, and I like to use a sponge applicator for that. It just seems to work better. And so I added that to the entire surface. Everywhere that the blue acrylic paint was added, I added the folk art crackle medium, and I picked that up at Hobby Lobby. It's just in the paint section. And that is what will give you the crackle finish once you add your top coat. So it's actually 3 steps to do crackle finish. It's the base layer of acrylic paint, usually it's a darker one, doesn't have to be, and then second coat with the crackle medium, and again each layer has to dry fully. So I've just used the heat tool to kind of speed the process along, and now I'm using a vintage white acrylic paint, and this you have to move really fast with because the crackling starts almost immediately, and so you don't want to go over the same area really more than once if at all possible. Sometimes with the like this project there were so many edges with the birdhouse that it really wasn't feasible to just do single long strokes. So I went in with the large brush as well as a detail brush, and just kind of did the best that I could with it. But again, I'm just trying to keep the paint moving, and then once I apply paint to that layer, I just kind of leave it alone. I'm using my heat tool to dry the last finish. It's best if you let it air dry, but again, I was doing the video for the design team project, so I wanted to keep it moving, and I made a mistake here. I thought it was fully dry, so I picked up the birdhouse, and you'll see that I took off some of the finish there, but I'm going to cover it with lace so you really won't be able to tell later on. And now I'm just picking out the flowers that I'm using, and just hot glue the lace there to the peak. And trimming that off, and then going ahead and covering, so you can see you won't be able to tell really that I took some of that top layer of paint off with my fingers just while I was trying to paint the bottom of the birdhouse. I think I said bird cage, but obviously it's a birdhouse. And now I'm just, because the lace had a little bit of a wrinkle or a curl to it, I'm just gluing down the little scallops there so it will lie flat. And it looks like I keep burning my fingers, but really it's just the glue. I don't like the feel of the glue on my fingers, so I just try and brush it off. And I'm switching to a different one. This is a pearl trim, pearl lace with a pearl trim on it. I think just really it made a nice, almost a scallop to the base of the peak. And I'm mitering the corner, sort of, just angling it so it looks like it's a continuous piece. And I hot glued that in place, again going around the whole perimeter of the roof peak edges. And again, just shaping that lace so that when I start the new angle it won't be very visible. I love to use hot glue for this because, well, number one, you can just keep moving, but I know it's not going to go anywhere once it's in place. And I'm just kind of touching it up a little bit, pulling off glue strings. And you can see what that looks like. So you can't even really tell that I took part of the paint off. This is just some flat back pearl trim that I decided to add to the roof peak. And just finishing that off and smoothing it in place to make it look finished. I can't stand working in a mess. Okay, so the flowers that I'm using, the blue one is a 25mm open rose, and then the off-white ones are 20mm open roses, and then I also use some sweetheart blossoms and some stamen, and then I also have some 5mm right here, 4mm closed rosebuds, and I'm just going to create like a spray with the stamen, just weaving it in there, getting it, placement just right, and then I think I used 3 stamen and 3 of the rosebud, and then I'm just winding the rosebud stem around the whole bunch to hold that in place, and then snipped it off with my scissors. And again, just figuring out placement for everything. Ready to glue that down. So these projects come together quite quickly. It's just a lot of it is just determining what it is you want to do next. These are some small rose leaves, and I'm going to be adding some of the Robyn buff to that, but first I'm just inking around the birdhouse just to kind of give it a more vintage look, and adding the gold leaf Robyn buff to the rose leaves and gluing those in place. Again, I love working with hot glue because it's instant movement. You can keep going. So just figuring out where everything's going and getting that settled in. And all of these flowers are mulberry paper, so they're very easy to work with and pliable. I don't show on the video, but I later add stickles to that blue rose in the center, and it just really set it off nice. And so just tucking things in and just making the cluster of flowers the way that I want it. And then I'm going to add some of the stamen into the, as filler around, as well as some more of the 4mm closed rosebuds. There you go, pulling off glue strings again. And I think it needed a little, the pink added to the top, just to kind of make it look like it was climbing up the side of the birdhouse. And then I decided that it needed a little bit more blue pulled in. So I added a 5mm closed rosebud. And now I'm just adding, these are creative paper clay charms that I made when I was on the creative paper clay design team. And so I just pull them out as needed. And I have a ton of them. So I'm just, once I pull it out of the mold, this is with the paper clay ones, you just have to clean them up a little bit, cut the rough edges off. As you can see, I'm here kind of shaving it with my craft knife, and just makes it look rounded. And then I have a file set that I use, and just kind of go over that, just make the edges smooth and finished, and then use like a fingernail file as the last step just to finish it off. And now I'm going to paint it. Just pulled out the same colors of acrylic paint again. This is the vintage white, and boy, I made a mess. I stuck that in there. I was trying not to take the lid off, and I stuck my brush down in there too far. Don't look, Mom. I know you wouldn't like that. Okay, and then I'm just brushing on some of the blue paint, just to add a different tone and texture and depth to it. And then some more Robyn buff. I love that stuff. It just really makes it look finished and more vintage. And again, it does add more depth to it. Adding some of the ink again to soften that up. And I did add some more of the rub and buff, you'll see, along the breast of the bird before I glued that on. But that's pretty much it. Adding some pearl flourishes, and I love to cut those apart so you get a lot more use out of them. So I just needed that little filler right there. Okay, and that's it. So they're super simple. It didn't take a lot of time, but it was really fun. I enjoyed altering it. So I hope that you'll see that you can do that too. It's not hard. I've had some questions about the crackling. So thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.